Hey, I'm Adam Thompson. Today it's Work Models You Need to Know, Episode 2. I'm going to be going through Jeff Moore's Zone to Win model, which is the model you need to know about when you're trying to balance out making sure your business goes well today, as well as getting ready for tomorrow. Let's get right into it. Jeff Moore's book is called Zone to Win, Organising to Compete in an Age of Disruption.
Into the paint, lost the ball.
And now we have our classic 4-zone model. Disruptive means stuff that's going to change things for the future. This is about making sure we're doing what we said we would do today. This is doing the stuff that will actually create revenue or to be able to do what you're funded to do. And this is about enabling the rest of the stuff. So let's talk about what the names are of each of the zones. Transformation, performance, incubation, and productivity. The performance zone is about sustaining the revenue you currently have. So that's about doing today's stuff, the things that your business is known for. The goal of productivity zone is making sure that you're doing what you're funded for as well as possible. So your classic support areas live in here. Most of the focus of the productivity zone is onto the performance zone, but also a little bit onto the disruptive areas, and they are the incubation zone. This is where you have things that could potentially one day catch a wave in order to be able to become a performance zone thing. And the transformation zone is the thing that you're looking to actually create into a performance zone thing. So in the revenue zone, it's about being clear about what are the offers that you make. Even if you're in the social sector, what are you providing to the people that you care for? And what are the channels? How do people get about doing it? The productivity zone, the two areas we look at are this. Community assets are things like your payroll system, but funded programs are particular things that areas are looking for in order that they can make more profit as they're producing their revenue. A distinction between these can be a really valuable way to set up your business. The goals of the performance zone is revenue. The goal of the productivity zone is to support the performance zone in making sure it's doing its work effectively and efficiently. The incubation zone is one which is of course very popular at the moment due to the innovation movement.
Big fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
But there's a common mistake that's made here. I'm going to draw it up like this. That word there is experiments. Experiments are not part of the incubation zone. The rules of the incubation zone that Jeff Moore put forward are that things in there could catch the next wave. And one of the tricks of the incubation zone is how can things be exited? They can be exited by going to the transformation zone. They could be exited by going into the performance zone to become what's called a strategic differentiator. Or it can be shut it down, or perhaps we can sell it off. The goal of the incubation zone is about learning and observing and positioning. If the incubation zone is hit with the same ROI standards as the performance zone, especially if you're doing the cost allocation thing, you're going to kill the incubation zone.
You're killing your father, Larry.
Now, the transformation zone, only one if that the performance zone will reject things coming into it, because the performance zone, quite rightly, is funding the entire operation. Hence, the transformation zone exists. That needs focus from the CEO, from the exec team, top of the agenda of every meeting to get that thing across to the performance zone. Jeff Moore talks about during a lot of the times the transformation zone will be empty and we're observing what's happening in the incubation zone, looking for that wave to come through. In terms of the way we set it up, Jeff Moore recommends setting up the incubation zone with the equivalent of a venture capital board. So in organisations, what I suggest is you have a couple of members of the actual board, you maybe have an external person who's been involved in entrepreneurial activities, and perhaps some internal executives as well. An amount of money is allocated by the board to the incubation zone, because if the board is involved in the incubation zone on a direct basis, the incubation zone will be And by the way, experiments are done via seed capital. So the idea there is you set up something like a lab, or even you could call it unofficial skunk works. This model is not just useful for the whole organisation, it's useful in your division and it's also useful in your team. So how would you put this into action? First, get clear on what's in your performance zone, and then get clear on the productivity activities that occur. Then what you can do is get everything out of your incubation and transformation zones, and then see if any of them genuinely are possibilities to one day go into the performance zone. And if so, they can be moved back into the incubation zone. And of course, clear your transformation zone and make sure that you've only got one or maybe none in that zone, so it's going to work. And then set up your governance to make sure that the standards by which you're judging the incubation zone are not the same standards by which you're judging the performance zone, and set up the overall governance, including the concept of an allocation of money to the incubation zone and even into the lab for experiments to allow those things to occur. That's how you can use this model to get some really effective work going in your organisation or your division or in your team. That's all for now. You can find me on the usual socials. You can like, share, subscribe. It's always much appreciated. You can sign up to my blog. It's called Zen Organisations, and that allows you to get the article that goes along with these videos into your inbox every week. And you can always get in touch with me. We can spend a half hour talking about how you can get this going in your organisation. It's a great model. I often recommend it. See you next time.